Mr. Schwarzenegger, welcome
First
to
of all,
Zurich.
let me just say it's
Sure.
really nice to be in Zurich. I just came from Spain, where we had the Arnold Classic World Bodybuilding Championships and the International Sports and Fitness Festival, because I'm still on my 45-year fitness crusade to make everyone in the world healthy and fit. And then I went from there to Prague, where we're shooting a commercial right now for a video game. And then I visited just now on the way over here an old friend of mine who is 93 and was a mentor of mine in Graz in Austria. And now it's great to be here in Zurich, which is a town that I love. I love Switzerland. I've come here, of course, many times, having lived right next door in Austria for 19 years. And so it's nice to be back again. And the last time I was here, I said, I'll be back. So I'm back.
Arnold, it's great to have you in Zurich. Thank you so much for coming to Zurich. You just mentioned it. I mean, you are very, very successful in business, in movies. You've been in politics. Would you say there's a secret to your success, and how would you define it?
Well, I would say that, there's obviously a lot of things that are very important in order to be successful, especially in our business, in the movie business. I think the most important thing is that you have to have a very clear vision that you want to be an actor, you want to be in the movies, that you have to feel very passionate about it, and you also have to have the ability to ignore the naysayers, because inevitably, every single thing that I've done in my life, people always said to me, that's impossible. So I don't know if I just set very high goals or what it was, but when I wanted to be a bodybuilding champion, and I was 15 years old in Austria, they said, you're crazy. I mean, you can be a bicycle champion or a soccer champion or a ski champion, but not a bodybuilding champion. That's an American sport. You're crazy. And when I said I wanted to go to America, they thought that was crazy, and it would never happen. I don't have the money and all those things. And then when I wanted to get into motion pictures, into movies, and be a leading man, they also said that I'm crazy. It would never happen. They said, you have an accent, and no one in America ever made it with an accent. People want to hear actors talk like John Wayne or like Clint Eastwood, but not like with a German accent. Maybe you can get you some parts as a Nazi officer or something like that, but definitely not to be, a leading man. And of course, your body is overdeveloped. I mean, you weigh 250 pounds. I mean, now this is the 70s. I mean, this is the age of Al Pacino. He weighs 150 pounds. He's a little guy. Dustin Hoffman, he's a big superstar. He's a little guy. Or Woody Allen, he's another sex symbol of the 70s. So he's a little guy. So he says, you, look at this, you look like a monster. It's impossible. So everything was always impossible. And then you can imagine what happened when I ran for governor. They thought, are you out of your mind? I mean, you're an actor. You cannot get into politics. That's impossible. But I always believed of what Mandela said. He always said, everything seems to be impossible until someone does it. And so I felt like, well, I can be the one that does new groundbreaking things and do the impossible and make it possible. And so that's exactly what I've done all my life. Whenever people said it's impossible, I made it possible, and I've proven that it can be possible. And so I think that's another very important thing, is in order to make it is you have to just ignore the naysayers. And then also you have to be able to work your ass off. I mean, you got to go in there and work. There's no shortcut to work. And so I worked always very hard. If it's in bodybuilding, 5-6 hours of training a day. Even when I then went into movies, to work on your English and on your acting and your accent removal, speech and voice and all of those kind of things. I spent hours and hours every day, even though I was still working out and training for bodybuilding competitions. But I went at night a lot of times to acting classes from 8 o'clock to 12 midnight. And so it was always a lot of work was involved. So those are the kind of principles that I have always had, and it really got me to where I am today. And I always was always very positive. I always had a great time. I'm very fortunate that everything I've ever done in my life, and I have made a lot of money doing it, but I would have done it for no money on the end, because everything that I've done, it was very passionate and I loved doing it. It would have been also my hobby at the same time. I loved working out and competing in bodybuilding. I loved doing movies, being on the set and acting out different characters and being involved, if it's action movies or if it's comedies or if it's something more serious, a character, a role. And I loved, politics, to be a public servant and to serve 38 million people in California, and to get their trust and to vote for you, not only once, but twice, to get reelected again with a huge majority. I mean, these were really, really great moments, and I loved every minute of it, even though it was hard work. So I always enjoy everything that I do, and just as much as like sitting here today in front of you. I don't look at this as a job. It's not like an effort that I have to make. I really was looking forward to coming over here from Prague and to have this discussion with all of you.
That brings me to a topic, because you brought a movie to the Zurich Film Festival called Maggie. And we know that you do not need to prove anything to anyone nowadays. But this movie is very special because it shows a complete different side of you as an actor. Why did you say yes to this project, and why is it important to you?
I just read the story, and I think that maybe 25 years ago, it wouldn't have meant anything to me. But now, having been a parent myself for the last 25 years, and when I read it, and I read this drama that this father goes through, that his daughter is, caught this zombie virus that is all over the world and is destroying people all over the world. And it is this slow death, and it's inevitable. No one can save a human being that gets caught with that virus. And, I was myself so sad when I read it, because I started visualizing my daughter having it, or one of my children having that illness, and what this must be like for a father to go through, or for a parent to go through, that it really had such an effect on me that even though, my agent said, look, they have no money. It's a budget $6 million, which is less than Terminator 1, may I remind you, because there was $6.5 million in 1984. Because it was very small budget on Terminator. But this one now, we're talking about now 30 years later, is $6 million. So as you can see, this is a very, very low budget movie. But I said, it's irrelevant. It's not about the money. Even if they don't pay me anything, I would like to play this character. It's very interesting movie, great story. And the director, Henry Hobson, was an interesting, very visual kind of a director. And so I wanted to do the movie, and I was very happy that I did. It was not so much of proving anything. It was more like there's a part of me in there that has never been able to act that out in front of a camera, as much as there was never a time where I had the chance to really be funny in front of the camera until we did Twins, to do a comedy. So it was not to prove that I can do a comedy, but it's just, as I said to myself, I have a funny side in me, and I want to be able to show that on the screen, because when you get typecast, which is what happens in movies, you get typecast. And we all then get kind of put in a slot. And so people started seeing, studio executives started seeing that they make a lot of money with me with action movies. So they said, why would we switch over to a comedy when we make hundreds of millions of dollars for every movie that this guy does with action movies? So it was impossible to go and switch over to comedy until I met Ivan Reitman, the director who did Ghostbusters, who gave me then the chance. And again, I said, I take no money. I take a big back end, but no money. And so that's exactly what we did, and we ended up making more money than in any other movie I've ever made, because of Twins, because of the big back end that we had, and big ownership. So, a lot of times you have to kind of really try hard to break through those things. People just don't like to see normally, Arnold do anything else but an action movie. Or Clint Eastwood, as far as that goes, or John Wayne. You would not see John Wayne in an Woody Allen movie, to play that kind of a character. Or Charles Bronson to be in a love story. So that's not what has happened. People just put you in a certain category, and that's what they let you play.
Getting back to Maggie, because has anyone seen Maggie yet? A couple of people. Okay, cool. Because there's a scene where you start crying, and I mean, a lot of critics were completely blown away because they never expected you to be able to do that in a way in that movie, and it was brilliant. Was that really difficult for you, or was it something, as you've been saying it, that just came out because it was there all the time, but it never had the chance to come out?
I almost felt like crying when I read the script, to be honest with you. I mean, it was so sad and so powerful the way it was written. So I felt like, I had no concerns. So when the moment came and those sad stories, and then we acted those sad kind of part out, it was natural. Because I visualized, like I said, what it would be like in real life. And that's what you do in acting. You try not to act sad, but you try to put yourself into this situation so that you in fact are sad. And so that's what I was. I was really sad. And you do those scenes over and over, and it makes your kind of emotions very raw. And so then it just unfolds. And so if you have a good director that guides you through it, which directors, if they're good, they are also partially like a psychiatrist. They know how to play with your mind and how to warm you up and how to get you there. And so Henry Hobson was very good and very trusting in this area. And so I didn't feel that it was that difficult because I didn't really act. I was very upset.
And now you're happy, as you've been saying it, because you like the way that you live your life and you've been very determined about your career. How would you say, where does the determination come from in your youth? I mean, was there a point where you basically said, listen, I need to change something, and this is what I need to do. I need to focus, I need to work hard, because it hasn't been easy in your youth.
No, it hasn't been. But I think that I learned a lot of things from sports. I think there's nothing like learning from sports. And that's why I always believe that we need to let our children do as much sports as possible, because there's no better place where you can learn about hard work. Because in sports, only if you really train hard, you can get better. And only when you really, really train hard, hours and hours a day, can you become a local champion or a national champion or an international champion. It's the harder you work, that's where the action is. And the discipline, you know that in sports that if you just don't do your training one day and then the next day again you don't, and then you slack off, and so it's not going to happen. And the same is also in work. It's exactly the same thing. So I think that I've learned a lot of my messages that were good for life from sports, and that really helped me always to be very determined. And like I said, to visualize your goal, and then you have a great joy to go after it. And I always operated really well when there was a struggle behind it and when people thought it was impossible. That motivated me and gave me that extra kind of a motivation. And it's fun. I think that that's the difference between living and existing. Some people just like to slide easy and to go to work and do the regular thing. And when they work 8 hours a day, they feel like, wow, I did an incredible job. It's all nonsense, It's like we have 24 hours a day, and if you work 8 hours, or 10 hours, let's say, you still have 14 hours left. So what do you do in these 14 hours? Then you go and sleep. Or let's say you sleep 6 hours. Then there's some of you in here that say, no, wait a minute, I sleep 8 hours. I would recommend you should just sleep a little faster, because 6 hours is enough. And so you sleep 6 hours. So as you can see, then you still have 8 hours left, right? Or 6 hours. You have so much time left if you really space it out. So to me, it was all about using the 24 hours as wisely as possible, as fully as possible. And I'm a big believer also that we should spend every day a certain amount of time on asking ourselves, what can I do for others? because I think that it's great to work on your own career, and it's great to make a lot of money, and it's great to be successful. But what about other people? They maybe are not as successful, they maybe don't have the talent, they maybe did not have the upbringing that motivated them. They maybe are handicapped, they maybe are intellectually challenged, like Special Olympians. I have been the trainer for Special Olympians for decades, or creating after-school programs for underprivileged kids. And now, of course, we became a hip thing, and now a lot of kids go to after-school programs because parents are working. And so there's no one home when they get home after school. Or, running for governor. I mean, all of those things, I think we all have a certain obligation to give something back to our community and to our country. Because there's a lot of people that need help. And so we got to jump in there and provide that help. So that's part of our daily work. I think besides doing something for yourself, do something also for others.
Was that why, Arnold, you were focusing on a lot of environmental issues as a governor as well in California? Because you said you need to spend your time wisely, you need to be influential, you need to do something, because as you've been saying it's hip to do something nowadays, but you did it as a governor of California.
Yeah, I think that's why I ran. And I remember when I ran for governor, people came up to me and they said, have you ever thought about that you're going to miss out on making $20 or $40 million a year? Because I was making $20, $30 million a movie. So they said, you're going to miss out on that money. Don't you miss that? And I said, no, not at all. Because I said, without America, I wouldn't be in a situation where I make that money in the first place. So I said, America gave me the opportunity. America welcomed me with open arms. America has shown tremendous generosity. So I cannot just take, as an immigrant, just take, and not give something back. So I said, I'm totally committed. I can do a better job than those politicians, because they have a lot of experience maybe, but there's not the will. A lot of those politicians, I found out, are all servants to their party. They're party servants, but they're not public servants. There's a big difference between being a public servant where you do what is right for the people versus a party servant that is doing what is right for their party, irrelevant if it's good for the people or not. And so I feel that we have, not only in America, but all over the world, there's a lot of party servants, but not public servants. And so I wanted to be a really good public servant that is a Republican, that is a conservative, but when I see an idea that doesn't appear to be conservative and it's good, I will still go for that. It makes no difference to me. I just wanted to be fiscally conservative and to have principles of where we don't spend more money than we take in, and to live within our means and so on. So, but we have to go and provide great after-school programs, great education. We got to go and protect the environment. We got to fight for making sure that we win that battle and reduce the greenhouse gases around the world. Because, not just because of global warming, everyone talks about global warming, which is all true. But what about what's happening today with the pollution? We're killing 7 million people a year in the world. Every year, 7 million because of our pollution. It's unacceptable. I think we can do better than that. So even though there's some that argue, is it true? Is this the science in now about global warming? Well, it is in. But let's assume we argue that point. The real issue is how many people we kill every day. And it's much more than through wars, much more than through traffic accidents, through homicides, suicides. All of those numbers together don't even come close to the 7 million that we kill with pollution. Greenhouse gases, particulate matter, all of those things that are in the air is horrible for our health, for our lungs, for our heart. And it causes cancer, it causes unbelievable illnesses, and it kills people prematurely.
Thinking about what you just said about politicians nowadays, what do you think of the presidential race at the moment in the US?
Well, it's a circus. It's a circus. And, It's very entertaining at this point. And I think that we have not seen yet the democratic debates amongst the Democrats, only the Republicans. And but it's very early to really comment on who is going to win, because the positions are going to change. Donald Trump will be up, and then he will be down, and someone else will be up, and someone else will be down. And so this is how it's going to be a roller coaster ride. I think that the action really starts next spring. And I know that for Europeans, it doesn't make much sense, the whole thing, because in Europe you have elections like campaigns for 6 weeks, and then it's over. We have it like for 2 years. I think it sells more ads on television this way, so the televisions love it because they have things to report, and each of the networks get the debates to organize the debates, so they all work it out amongst themselves. One time it's CNN debate, then it's a Fox debate, then it will be an NBC debate, and then it will be an ABC debate, and everyone will get their share, and they all can get their millions and millions of viewerships and all of those things. But I hope out of this comes, a great candidate. Someone that will break through the gridlock that is going on in Washington, because right now, not much is getting done. Democrats, whenever they have an idea, the Republicans shut it down. When the Republicans have an idea, the Democrats will shut it down. So no one is working together. And sadly, we don't have the leadership there that really can bring both of the parties together and really, do something that is good for the country. And there's a lot of issues that we need to address. From immigration reform to environmental issues to, paying off the debt. We have $18 trillion debt now in America, which is unacceptable. There's, all kinds of issues that need to be addressed. Infrastructure is falling apart, and it's slowly deteriorating in America. We need to rebuild the infrastructure like we did in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. After the Second World War, we were on this whole spin about rebuilding. We need to do that again in America. So there's a lot of very important issues. So I hope a candidate will come out of all of this that will be able to bring the parties together, bring everyone together, and do something that's really good for the country.
So let's wait for spring 2016. It's time for questions from the audience. Who has a question? The gentleman all the way in the back there with the black, exactly. Wait for the microphone. I think we have one, hopefully. Okay, go ahead.
Hello. I'm a film fan. I'm not part of the industry. And I wondered if you, as part of the industry, can still enjoy films like an outsider, or you just look at them from a commercial point of view. And I wondered, what are a couple of your favorite ever films?
Well, I think that even though you make movies and you see how they're put together, how they're edited, and how the visual effects are done, and the music, and all that, and how before you start shooting the storyboards are laid out, and how this whole thing, the process works. I still enjoy movies and love seeing them. I think, like, for instance, just recently, I saw San Andreas. And I was just like blown away by the visual effects. And it was such a great story. And, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is such a fantastic entertainer, not only in the ring as a wrestler, but also as an actor. He has done really well. And, because there was a while where people were saying, where are the next action heroes? What happened here, that people still have to go and ask Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis and Stallone to do action movies. They're almost going to be 70, and which is true. But, I mean, but I'm still having fun doing the action movies, may I remind you. But, where's the next generation? Well, The Rock is the next generation. I think he's a fantastic action hero. And I really enjoyed him in this movie, San Andreas, because it was just really a very well made and a very entertaining movie. So I enjoy things, or, when I think about Taken with Liam Neeson. I love those action movies. I mean, they're really entertaining, they're fun. He is a terrific actor. The directors are really good in those movies, so they're very enjoyable. So I still watch those kind of movies, and also other movies, So I watch all kinds of movies. Sometimes they appear to some other people maybe slow, or they're maybe a great comedy or something. So I still love watching movies.
Any more questions? From that side, all the way in the back, the gentleman, yeah, exactly that.
Hi, mein Name ist Alexander Muki und ich wollte erst mal sagen, wir haben etwas gemeinsam. Nämlich, unsere beiden Mütter heißen Aurelia. Und sie macht mir auch dann Wiener Schnitzel nach Maggie. Also, Sie sind auch eingeladen, aber Sie müssen ja dann weg.
Macht sie auch guten Apfelstrudel?
Natürlich. Natürlich. Und Suppe natürlich mit Fledlis. Und meine Frage ist, weil er hat es ja schon angesprochen, mit dem Moment in der Jugend und so. Und ich bin ja noch in der Jugend. Und habe jetzt auch so begonnen trainieren und so. Und bei mir gab es so bestimmte Momente, wo Menschen zu mir gegangen sind, wo ich zu Leuten hingegangen bin. Und die haben mich abgewiesen oder nicht abgewiesen, aber ich wusste in einem bestimmten Moment, so kann es nicht weitergehen. Und Sie haben ja gesagt, ja, Sport und so, aber gab es so bestimmte Momente, wo irgendeiner, den Sie mochten oder so, irgendwie Sie abgewiesen hat oder Sie gesagt haben, nein, so kann es nicht weitergehen. Ich muss stärker sein als der ist, behandelt meinen Kameraden ungerecht oder so. Gab es da irgendwie Schlüsselmomente?
Yeah, as I said earlier,
Ja.
I heard no oder nein, das ist unmöglich. I heard it all the time, but I didn't listen. So that's why I say one of the rules to success is not to listen to the naysayers. Because, you know, you will see people that are not really used to unusual performances, that they would not buy in. They would say it's impossible. You know, so, but it doesn't mean that they treat you badly. I didn't feel like someone treated me badly. They just didn't believe in me. My own parents didn't believe in me. I mean, my mother was concerned all the time that I was crazy or something else. My mother brought our house doctor home because she was concerned that above my bed on the wall there were pictures of naked men. They were not really naked, they were bodybuilding champions, boxers, all great athletes. But she called the doctor and said, "Doctor, look at this, my son is having on the wall naked man. And all of his friends have on their wall women. Should I be concerned?" And the doctor finally calmed her down and explained to her, "There's nothing wrong with your son. He just idolizes this man, and I think that's good at his age to idolize and then to work harder. So don't worry about it." And then my mother finally was kind of relieved that I was not turning in a strange direction according to her views. And so those things happen all the time. My father said to me, he says, "Why are you training your muscles? Go out and chop wood, do something for people, be useful. Then you will get your muscles, not with these weights and in front of the mirror and idolizing yourself and all." So he went crazy on that. So, you know, it's very hard in the beginning to convince people that you're really serious and that you are going to make it. So, you know, I don't think that you should be concerned. And in the end, when someone treats you bad, the best revenge is success. Remember that. That's it.
There was a question over there from the, in the last row, the blonde-haired lady. The blonde-haired lady over there, yeah, exactly you. Microphone's coming.
Hello. Birgit Heitzig, Germany, Green Film Shooting Magazine. So, Mr. Schwarzenegger, you are going to attend the climate change conference in Paris, as I understand, and I would like to know what is your message there. Thank you.
The conference in Paris?
Yeah, you're on
Well, I think that my message is, as I said earlier, that the nations have to come together for the greater good of the world in order to reduce and to make a commitment to reduce greenhouse gases. Because we can see already the effects it has, and also the health aspect that I talked about. So my idea of really moving forward with it and being more successful is by including subnational governments, because they are all dealing with national governments, to come to a deal as national governments so that all of the countries come to an agreement and to agree to reduce the greenhouse gases. But they should not forget subnational governments, because remember, when I was governor of California, we had enacted and we had really enforced the toughest environmental laws in the United States, but no help from Washington. As a matter of fact, Washington fought us on every step of the way. Washington even said that we cannot regulate our own air in California because greenhouse gases is not a pollutant. And we had to take Washington, the federal government, to court and fight in court. And we won the first court battle. Then it went to a higher court. We won that battle, went to a higher court, all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. And finally, the Supreme Court of the United States also said, yes, greenhouse gases are pollutant, and California has the right to regulate its own air and its own pollution. So I said to myself, can you imagine it has to go to the Supreme Court for those idiots in Washington to recognize that greenhouse gases is a pollutant? I could have tied them to an exhaust pipe, each one of them with their mouth strapped to the exhaust pipe, turn on the engine for 10 minutes. I guarantee you they would have agreed right away that it isn't a pollutant. So, so we in California have, independently of Washington, independently of the federal government, we have moved forward and have made great progress, but we made a commitment to roll back the greenhouse gases by 25% by the year 2020, and an additional 85% by the year 2050. And we also have renewable energy now, 35% by the year 2020. We will have close to 50% of renewable energy. And we did this all by ourselves as a subnational government, as the state of California. So what I'm saying is they should also simultaneously, as they are trying to get all the national governments together, to get the subnational governments together, because most of the action, 70% of the reduction of greenhouse gases, will come from subnational governments and not from national. So this is why I think it's very important to add that, and they are. So we have had a great relationship. I've had a great relationship with the French, President Hollande, who has been a real great leader in that area, and he may be successful. So I try to do everything I can so that he and the international community is successful. So I will be there with the R20, with our environmental organization that deals with subnational governments, and I will be trying to rally everyone up to go and make a deal and to make a commitment to reducing greenhouse gases. So, because we have the responsibility to make this a better world and to, hand this world over in better shape than the way we inherited it.
Okay, a question from the lady, and then right next we can... Yeah, right there with the glasses.
Yeah, Arnold, I have a question for you concerning, you said it before, making movies as an actor is one thing, but what about writing movies or directing them? You had like 2 directional credits on the Internet Movie Database. Would you direct again and maybe write also the script, because you have a lot of experience as a governor, as a bodybuilder, so in different fields and different careers, so to put all together and make a movie about all these experiences?
You may see me again as a director, yes. I did enjoy directing. But I have absolutely no patience for writing. When I look at the writers and they sit there on their desk, on their computer, and they write, and they write, and they write, and I just shake my head and I say, I don't know how you guys do it. And I have written 7 books, and each one of those books, I have most of it dictated and worked with the co-writer. because there's people that are really trained in that and that are really good writers. I'm not one of them. I can tell a good story, I can tell you everything that I know, and I can sit down and make notes and write notes and write my thoughts down, and this is what I've done always with all the books, but in the end it was always someone else that really helped me with the writing. And so you won't see a Schwarzenegger script, I can guarantee you, even if I live to 150 years of age, it won't happen, okay?
Thank you. The gentleman with the hat right there. Oh, okay, du hast schon das Mikrofon. Gut.
Hi.
Geklaut.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. I'm from Geneva, here in Switzerland, and I always wanted to be in movies and make movies. And exactly like you said, everybody told me you're crazy. It's not. It's impossible because nobody actually ever did it, and that's not true. One person did it. That's you, but it's one coming from a small country in Europe. And so you started with sports. I did not, but instead I made a short film that went to film festivals. I did a campaign for Kickstarter that made $1 million. I met with Oscar-winning producers who were interested in my projects. And just like you said, I was on my computer and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote a lot of screenplays. One of them is attracted some attention, but it all depends on who I cast. And I did write the part for you. It is true. I actually adapted it because when I wrote it, you were not doing movies. And it was a smaller part, and now it's different. And I think it fits you very well, but it's unlike anything you've done before. And the only way you can actually read it is if I give it to you personally. So I'm very sorry to put you on the spot, but I'd like to know if... please give it to you.
Well, you can give it to me. Yes, my assistant is right here. Daniel, can you take it? No, right here. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, let me just say to you that congratulations that you have made that step and have done a short movie. Congratulations on writing script after script and come up with stories. And again, I have to say to you, don't ever be shy in asking anyone to be in your movie. Because there's so many directors that I've met in the past that said, well, I didn't want to get in touch with your agency because I didn't want to be shut down. And I said to myself, they would never give my message to you and all this. Don't believe in that. I mean, there was a young kid that came over to the United States. He's, I think, from Sweden, right, Ketchel? The guy that did Kung Fury. Yeah, Kung Fury. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah, Kung Fury, yeah. So anyway, I see this on the internet, and he then showed me also a DVD. And I was so impressed by what I saw. This is a young kid. So I called him, and I said to him, I said, look, I heard about you from my agent, and let's get together for lunch. So I met him for lunch. And the entire lunch, he was just sitting there and looking at me like this. So I said, tell me about the way you made this movie. So I said, well, can we talk? So anyway, he just finally shook his head and said to me, I can't believe that I'm sitting here with you. And I said, well, you know, I want to congratulate you because I said, you at least had the balls to go out and just say, even though you're a young kid and you just have done this 30-minute kind of little short thing, this was this crazy, Kung Fury. I mean, totally crazy idea, but it looked great. And now Spielberg is going to produce his movie. He's going to make it into a big motion picture, that idea of Kung Fury. And he asked me if I want to be in the film. And I said to him, yes. Of course I want to be in the film. I said, even though it's a little movie or maybe you don't have much money, I said, but this is a great idea. It's a great concept. So the bottom line is, it doesn't matter how little you are physically or from what little of a country you come from or how young you are. Absolutely none of this matters. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is talent. If you have talent, and you know, of course, in order for people to discover it, you got to do it over and over and show them and push and get it out there and have it introduced in film festivals. But you will do it. You know, in the end, talent will always penetrate through, and people will eventually see it. So just keep going, keep going. You are a winner. Keep going, okay? Good.
Arnold, let's talk about your future movies. There are a couple of projects sort of on the horizon. Tell us about Conan, about triplets, and I read The Toxic Avenger, maybe.
Well, there's a lot of projects. Another one that we are talking about that most likely is the next film I would do, which is a small independent film, because I've done Terminator, which was a big film. But it's 478. It's a movie about the airplane crash, with the two planes crashing over the Bodensee, which was many years ago. And it's based on that true story, but the movie is not exactly the way that story unfolded. But it's a fantastic story and a very dramatic piece. And then, of course, like you said, Conan is another one of those things that is being developed right now and fine-tuned, and it could happen, that we shoot it next year. And Triplets is something that I have wanted to do, a sequel to Twins, with Eddie Murphy and with Danny DeVito, where Eddie Murphy is kind of the third brother that comes out of nowhere, so it's again, there's a script that has been written and that is now being fine-tuned, but Eddie Murphy loves the idea. We've gotten together several times with him and with Danny, and we all love the idea. So it's just really a matter of getting the script right, so that it is on the same level as the first movie was, because that's the key thing, not to just live off a name of a movie, but to really do a great job with that and to make it funny. So when people see the poster alone, like in the first one, they'll start laughing about it. And then when they see the movie, they really come out and say, wow, this was one of the funniest things we have ever seen. So that's the important thing, and that's why I think fine-tuning it is really the most important thing.
Arnold, thank you so much for coming to Zurich. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. It's been a pleasure to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Arnold Schwarzenegger.